Good evening, everybody, and I know we said that the third Saturday of October is here. Well, that title is going to live on, even though the calendar will tell us that this is the fourth Saturday of October. It still has that name, and it'll carry on as part of this rivalry between the Tide and the Tennessee Volunteers. Welcome in to Baumhauer's Victory Grill here in Tuscaloosa. I am Eli Gold. Katie George is seated to my right from ESPN. She'll be patrolling the sidelines for Jason Benetti and Greg McElroy on the telecast. Benetti filling in for Joe Tessitore this weekend. Great to see you, and it's nice to, you are great on the sidelines because you were an all-conference, all-America athlete. So you have that affinity to talk to these guys, don't you?
I like to think so. It helps because I've been in huddles. I've heard coaches talk to players in high-pressure situations, so I like to think that I know what to look for on the sidelines, and I keep my antennas up for good conversations between teammates after great plays or after bad plays and mistakes, and
Sure.
I really love patrolling the sidelines and just getting to hear parts of those conversations. Sometimes it's lip reading because the stadiums are so loud. This is my first time going through the SEC, and it's been a lot of fun.
Let's discuss the fact that you have worked in the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks as a sideline reporter. Now you're in the collegiate world. How different is it for you dealing with the college athlete versus the NBA superstar?
Luckily, I'm a little closer in age with the NBA players. I would say that's the only difference. It's all about building relationships and just getting to know the story and what makes people tick. And it's all about the stories and the relationships regardless of the level that you're covering.
Coach Nick Saban now making his way here and getting settled in. Coach, good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am well, sir. Looks like you've gotten yourself a nice fresh haircut for homecoming weekend.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. This is a nice weekend,
He
isn't it?
he left all the gray hair, though. He didn't cut any of that off.
I can't comment on that. All I got left is gray. The thing is, it's turning gray. It's not turning loose. So that's the good thing. This homecoming is a special weekend, isn't it, when everybody comes back? It's really very, very nice.
It is. It's a great tradition. I think it's an opportunity for a lot of people who have a lot of wonderful memories from their time at the university, and it's a traditional time to come back and sort of renew some of the relationships and sort of things that you did that were fun, and maybe a few that weren't so fun, when you were going to college. Yeah. We all had those times, good ones and bad ones. So it's great, and it's really good to have a football game that is something that draws people together, and they have passion for, and we certainly have passion for this game.
Exactly.
I guess Tennessee's using this as a motivation for them, like we don't have any respect for them because we made that our homecoming game or something. That's what I heard. Somebody told me. I don't know what's on the internet. I just hear, rumors.
What people tell you. I understand. But whatever it is, it's a rivalry. And yes, Bama's done well of late, but Tennessee is a good football team. And we'll get into that as our evening continues. You know Katie George from ESPN.
Yeah, Katie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Coach?
Good. Thanks for doing this.
Of course. Happy to be here. Thanks for letting me come to practice. It's great to watch.
Jump right in with questions, Katie.
You guys played extremely well a week ago. I was on the sidelines, thankfully, for that one against Mississippi State. Have you continued to see the consistency you want from your group as you prepare for Tennessee this weekend?
Well, I think that the players have been, good in practice this week. But, as I told them on Monday, now you showed what you're capable of. That's the most complete game that we played. I think in games prior to that, we played well in parts of games. Even the Texas A&M game, there was a period in the game where we won the game 28-7, but we couldn't overcome all the things that we did in the beginning or the things that we couldn't do in the end. So this was a complete game. I thought the players played hard in the game. They sustained their energy in the game. They didn't look at the scoreboard. They didn't get complacent when we got ahead in the game. And they had a lot of fun playing and competing in the game. So we showed what we're capable of doing. But look what it took for us to do it. Had to get humiliated, had to lose, had to get criticized by how we played and what we did, and from a lot of people, and rightfully so, and me too. We're all responsible for it. So now can we show that this is a part of who we are? This is a part of our DNA as a team in terms of the identity that we have, the consistency that we can play with. and we don't have to lose to get motivated again, I hope, or we'll never be able to accomplish the things that we're capable of or the goals that we have for the season. So the players have been good this week, and hopefully that'll mean that we'll be able to sustain this week and play the way we'd like to continue to play.
Definitely. There's so many guys to talk about who played well, but we can't go any farther without talking about Will Anderson. I mean, here's a guy who spoke up, said to the team, hey, just see how I do it. Follow me. He went out and did it. Now the guy's in the same sentence with Derek Thomas for his performance last week. That was wonderful to see.
Yeah, Will has been a really good player for us all year, and he's not just a good player on game day. This guy's got some of the best character, one of the best people we've ever had on our team. He's got really good leadership qualities. He's a hard worker. He sets a good example every day, tries to do everything right. And he doesn't ever worry about the wrong stuff. He's always in the moment, always trying to improve, play the next play, takes coaching well. Really is about as fine a person as we've ever had on our team, and it's always fun as a coach when you have guys that are really good guys that are the star players of the team. And the one thing that he did do is he did step up from a leadership standpoint. I've mentioned on this show before that some of our best leaders on our team are young players, and they're apprehensive to step up until they sort of create enough credibility for themselves by their performance to sell somebody else who's older than them and maybe played longer or more or whatever, that maybe aren't showing the kind of leadership qualities, even though they may be trying to do things correctly. Now some of those guys are starting to emerge in our team, and I think that's very helpful, and Will's one of them.
Definitely so. Pee Wee is on the phone, our first caller of the evening, as per usual. And Katie, if you're not familiar, he calls in every week. First caller, brought as always by Alabama 811. Always contact 811 before you dig. To know what's below, call 811 or visit al811.com. Pee Wee, how are you, sir? Good evening.
Doing well, Eli. How are you, sir?
I am well, thank you.
Pee Wee, what's going on, man?
Hey, Coach, how you doing, buddy? Your arm looks a little better.
Yeah, it's getting better, but it's a good reminder of, what happened a couple weeks ago, so it keeps me motivated.
Yes, sir. Coach, I was wondering, the offensive line, for the most part, played very well last week. They did allow a couple of sacks. I was just wondering how their focus had went this week, how they reacted to their game and trying to step it up, and how they did.
Yeah, I think the offensive line did well. I think, one of the things that we have to improve on a little bit is when you drop back pass protect, you got 5-man protection, you got 6-man protection, you got 7-man protection. And, you put a lot of pressure on the offensive line when you have 5-man protection because those 5 guys have to block whoever's coming. And a lot of people do a really good job, and we did it last week too. You mug people up in the line, so you got like 6 guys mugged up in the line. Well, you don't know which one of those guys are going to rush, and then when you're in 5-man protection, if the wrong guy rushes, you're going to get pressure on the quarterback, and you got to throw the ball hot. So, some of those things are very difficult. It's not the offensive line's fault in total. The quarterback has to recognize these things sometimes and redirect the protection to protect himself. But last week, we got some pressure in the pocket when they just rushed 5 guys and ran pass rush games. So we need to do a better job of being firm in the pocket so we can step up in the pocket. But I also think, Bryce is very nifty and has great pocket awareness for a quarterback and can move around, and he's not easy to sack if we can give him a little bit of time, especially when he can step up. So I think those guys are doing well, but I also think there's some things that we need to improve on, in pass protection. And I also think that we may need to help them a little bit more by, changing up the protection a little bit so people don't know exactly what we're doing. And that's what always messes you up on defense. You put all those guys up there, and now it's 7-man protection, and you got 6 guys up there. Well, they can block all them, and all them guys in the back end are playing straight man-to-man, and the quarterback's got a lot of time to throw it. So you got to mix it up a little bit, and we're working on doing that as well.
That awareness, is that a God-given talent, or can that be taught to a quarterback?
I think, you can teach anybody to some degree. Obviously, people that have athletic intuition obviously can pick it up more quickly. Probably don't need the repetitions. I think the less instinctive a player is at any position, the more repetitions he needs before he develops that sort of awareness to react the way you want him to react. And some people are more natural at it than others. And Bryce is just, very, very instinctive. He's instinctive reading coverages. He's very smart. He's instinctive reading where to throw the ball, the timing, the accuracy, and also his pocket awareness. So he has very good intangibles, to play the quarterback position.
Gotcha.
When you look at Tennessee, regardless of who you see at quarterback on Saturday night, what challenges does their offense present?
Well, I think they're I don't want to say typical, but I call it the Baylor offensive style. Huge splits with the receivers to really spread the defense out. They've been very effective running the ball. They have a really good running back, and when you're spread out like that, it makes it more difficult to stop the run. When you get spread out like that, it becomes more difficult to play split safeties and have the safeties be able to support the run like you want because these guys are so far away from where they're running the ball because their splits are so big. So, and this is something that more and more people are doing. So we've had to change our style a little bit against that. Ole Miss does a lot of the same thing. So, but they can run the ball effectively, and they make a lot of explosive plays down the field because they force people to stop the run with 6 guys in the box. So now you're playing single high coverage, and they run vertical routes. So if you can't cover them or guys can't play the ball in the deep part of the field, you end up giving up plays. So, and that's how they've made a lot of explosive plays. So it's challenging. You got to try to disguise what you do, but when you're spread out so much, becomes very difficult to do that. So they've got a really good offensive system and scheme. They do a lot of quarterback runs, which is like Wildcat.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter which one of these quarterbacks play. They're very similar in style. They're both big guys. They both have really strong arms, and they're both good runners. And when I say good runners, they're hard to tackle because they're big and they're physical and they can make you miss a little bit. And they utilize that, and that's been something that's beneficial to them. But if I had to say this offense is like somebody, probably similarities of anybody that we played to Southern Miss and Ole Miss, and they're going to go fast. They're the fastest team in the country.
They are.
All right. I mean, we look at the shot clock when they snap the ball. I mean, sometimes it's on 32. I mean, it started at 40. For you to get a play signal then and get lined up in a formation and run the ball in 8 seconds, and the defense has to get lined up too. I mean, it's challenging, and it's challenging to get that kind of look in practice because the scout team got to look at a card before they know what play to run. Well, they sure can't look at a card in 8 seconds and be ready to run a play. So it's difficult.
And, of course, statistically, they have already scored more points this year through 7 games than they did all of last year. So they're putting numbers on the board.
Yeah, and really they lost 2 games. The Ole Miss game was close,
right,
and they had an opportunity to win the game at the end, and the Pitt game was close. And so they could very easily have just lost 1 game. So this is a good team, and they're playing hard. They play really hard on defense. They've made improvements in every part of their team, in my opinion. So this will be a challenging game for us, no doubt.
We've got a lot more to talk about. Coach Nick Saban. Katie George is our media guest from ESPN. When we come back, we'll take your calls. Hope you can join us at 877-202-BAMA. We are live at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. From the 25, 1st and 10. Rodgers throws, looks near side, hold up, intercepted Alabama. Hold down by Jordan Battle down the right sideline. He's going to go to the goal line. Does he step out of bounds? No, he's in for a touchdown. Jordan Battle, the 2nd interception of the day for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama already with 10 interceptions this season. Coach, you harp on turnovers, and boy, we've been creating a whole bunch of them here lately.
Well, the turnovers are twofold. we've gotten some interceptions, but, we've only had one fumble recovery all year.
Yeah.
And we only really caused one fumble all year. And every day, and it just gripes me to no end, that we start practice with turnover drills. And it's twofold. The offense goes against the defense, and we're trying to get our players to carry the ball correctly so we don't turn the ball over, but we're also trying to teach our players to get turnovers by
Right.
how to rip the ball out and all that type of stuff. So it's not worked so far this year, but hopefully we get it turned around and we'll get some turnovers.
Katie George, jump on in, young lady.
Well, I had a chance to speak with Jordan Battle last week as you guys prepared for Mississippi State. He, of course, just had the pick six in the highlight that we heard. What do you like about the way that Jordan's playing, and where do you hope he continues to grow in his game?
Well, Jordan Battle has been one of our most consistent performers. He's smart. He understands the system. He makes all the checks. He's very instinctive. He's a good tackler. He can cover well. He's got range. He's instinctive. And because he studies well, just like the interception for the pick six, we called a coverage. He executed it perfectly. They run what I call a cardinal route where 2 and 3 go down the field and cross very deep down the field. And, we were in a quarters coverage where you can pass that off if you're anticipating it and seeing it coming. He anticipated it, passed it off, got the pick. Quarterback didn't expect him to do it. And then, our players do a pretty good job of taking the ball down the numbers and everybody, blocking like it's a punt return. But he has been one of our most consistent performers all year long. He really has.
Coach, you've got a question here from the Nick Saban Radio Show blog on AL.com. Carol in Prattville says, hey, Coach, it was great to see the reaction from our bench when Trayshawn Holden scored that touchdown Saturday against the Bulldogs. He seems to be a very popular player. How has he improved this fall? Thanks, and roll tide.
Yeah, Trayshawn has played really well for us. I know that every time he's got an opportunity to be in the game, he's made plays and he's made some good catches. And I think that players always root for each other. And I thought we had great bench enthusiasm in the last game. The players were very supportive of each other, and they were happy when everybody scored, but they were especially happy when Trayshawn scored as well. But I think that, players know how hard guys work and how much they want to play, and everybody doesn't get to play as much as they would like to play. And that's a good thing. I mean, because if you're a good competitor, you want to get out there and play as much as you can. But you've got to have loyalty and respect your teammates. So when you get an opportunity, you take advantage of it. I think everybody on the team is really happy to see that happen, for some of the guys. Just like, when Trey Sanders scored in the first game, everybody kind of understands everything that he's been through, how hard he's worked to overcome his injuries. So when something good happens for him, I think everybody really has a tremendous amount of joy that he's getting rewarded in a positive way, and they're excited for him.
Exactly. Hey, Tommy's on the phone. He's in Leeds, Alabama. Tommy, welcome to the Nick Saban Show. Hello.
How you doing, Coach? Roll Tide, Nick Saban.
Good, Tommy. How are you?
Hey, I'm happy we won Saturday, Coach.
I'm sorry?
He said he was happy that Alabama won and won impressively against Mississippi State. And I don't think there's anybody up here who's not pleased. Did you see that kind of a game coming? Could you tell by how the guys reacted during the week of practice that they were dialed in to the game at hand?
Yeah. Yeah, and I can see when they're not.
Yeah.
That's the bad thing.
Whole lot nicer
you want me to
when
talk
they
about
are.
it? You want to talk about that some more?
No, I don't want to talk about the downside. The upside is good, though. And
no, it's just amazing to me, and I think we're all sort of, guilty of this to some degree, that, people respond so much better when bad things happen than when good things happen. And I think when good things happen a lot, people have a tendency to get complacent. Complacency breeds a blatant disregard for doing things right. So you're not doing the little things right. So you're not creating the right habits. And eventually that catches up with you.
Sure.
And when you don't have humility, you don't have enough respect for other people, regardless of who you're playing. But basically, whoever we're playing, the opponent should be faceless. You should respect the technical parts of what they do and how you have to prepare to do it. But really, your focus should be totally on your own performance in terms of, how you play. And, I actually got on the players today because Thursday's always academic day. All right, and we also do, make sure everybody's eating all their meals. All right, so we do attendance at meals, and I know how many guys and how many meals they missed and all that kind of stuff. So then we have a threshold of how many classes you can miss, all right, before you go in what we call the box. All right. The box puts you in, as soon as you get in the box, all right, then you have penalties for every time you miss after that. Same thing with your meals. All right, you miss so many meals, you go in what we call the box. All right, and once you're in the box, then every time you mess up again, there's a punishment, there's a penalty that you have to pay. I'm not going to say what it is. All right, so, but to me, what I gave a lecture about today is everybody, once they get in the box, they don't miss any more classes. Once they get in the box, they don't miss any more meals. Mm-hmm. All right, so my question is why do we have to, from a morality standpoint, to do the right thing, there has to be some penalty involved to enhance us not to do the wrong thing. But we couldn't do the right thing when there was no penalty. You should be doing the right thing because it's the right thing, and it benefits you. All right, so I just, that kind of blows my mind.
Tough to figure, yeah.
But I guess it's the same, some places in society, if you lie and there's no consequences for it, I guess you just keep lying.
Yeah.
If you steal and there's no consequences for it, I guess you just keep stealing. I don't know, but you shouldn't do either one of those things to start with, is the point.
When you're given that message after practice, who is that resonating with most? Which player can you tell intrinsically,
you know what?
They believe it, they're living every single word that you're saying?
If I could tell that, Katie, I'd probably be
Well, you're already the
maybe
greatest
doing
of all
something
time.
more important than this. I don't know.
I don't know.
But sometimes I wonder, who really hears it and who it goes in one ear and out the other, who really gets the message and understands it. I can't really tell, but I can tell because, the good guys on the team, they respond to all those things. And, you're probably talking to the 10% who don't do it right, and they're probably the 10% that has the toughest time listening.
Interesting. We've got a visitor over here to our left, Coach, with a question. And by the way, anybody who asks a question tonight, Bob Baumhauer, the proprietor of Wings, has put together a nice-looking Hey Coach Nick Saban Show T-shirt that they're giving away. So as you ask a question here at the restaurant, you'll be getting that T-shirt. Young man, good evening. How are you?
Hey, Coach Saban.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
My name is John Rivers Oliver. It's my birthday today.
Well,
so
happy birthday.
thank you.
How old are you?
11.
Oh, great. So what grades that make you in, like the fourth or fifth?
Fifth.
Fifth?
Well, I was just going to ask you, how do you plan to start out the game on Saturday on offense against Tennessee?
Not that Josh Heupel is listening and taking notes,
Let me get
but
a
no.
pen real quick.
Well, I think that's a good question. And what we do today before practice is we have about 20 plays, okay, that we put in a sequence that's the way we want to start the game. And we're going to call those plays and actually rehearse those plays, tomorrow when we go through walkthrough, so every player knows this is the first play, second play, third play. If we're going to go fast, all right, if we're going to use some kind of cadence to see what they're in, we can slow down, act like we're going to go fast and then not go fast and see what the defense is in and see if we want to what we call Nike check a play to the play that we'd like to run against whatever they're in, which everybody does that to us too, so this is not rocket science. All right, so And then unless there's a special situation like third down or short yardage or something that comes up in between, we try to adhere to that sort of list of plays. And what it does is it really gives you a better opportunity to decide what you want to call, like on Thursday night sitting in your chair and making the list of plays that you like against what they do, and are going to give the players the best chance to be successful rather than trying to do it on the run. And then as you go through those plays, you kind of get a feel for the game. And then we kind of do the same thing at halftime again. We see how it's going, and we kind of make a list of this is what we want to make sure we get called, in some kind of sequence in the second half. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what those plays are because somebody might be listening, but at least in format, that's what we try to do. And sometimes you like we're playing in the game, and I think we're like lethargic on offense. I always say go fast. We have probably 12 or 14 plays that we call fastballs that are one-word calls that when we call them, everybody knows the formation, everybody knows the play, and we can go fast. So, and when the players are lethargic, the best way to get them going is to go fast because they have to have intensity and they have to have tempo, and that kind of gets them going. And most of the time when we do that, we have pretty good success. So I don't know if I answered your question, but at least I gave you some information.
There you go. And again, thanks for being here and happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
You wanted to jump in, Katie?
Yeah, how much input does Bryce have in scripting out those plays with you and Coach O'Brien? Is it a back and forth conversation about what he feels comfortable with?
I don't really think so. I think what we do is maybe do it in a different direction. He doesn't look at the script and say, I don't like that play, I like this play, I'd rather run this play, I'd rather run that play. But what we do is we have a situational sheet, all right, whether it's in the red zone, the low red, the high red, third down, play action passes, however you want to categorize all these things. And we ask his input on what he likes. All right, what do you like in the high red? What do you like in the low red? But we also ask the other quarterbacks too. So it's not just him. So all three quarterbacks get to say what they like in third and 3 to 6, what they like in third and medium, what they like in third and long. So at least we know what they like.
Sure.
All right, so therefore maybe that has some impact on how we figure out these plays that we would like to run, because you really don't want to run something that the quarterback's not comfortable with. But at the same time, Bryce is in his first year playing. He's a sophomore in college. We got guys that have been coaching for 40 years. I'm not, we want the input, but I think we can all make better judgments and decisions what's best for our entire team.
Gotcha. Good point. We're going to come right back. We've got a lot more to talk about with the coach and with Katie George from ESPN, but right now we break away for these messages. It's the Nick Saban Show from Tuscaloosa here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Action fake. Bryce rolls right and throws. Complete Williams. Jamison midfield 50. Near sideline 40. Down the left sideline 30. Down the left sideline 20. And he's all the way in for a touchdown. Jamison Williams. He's got 6 receiving touchdowns. Had one last week as Alabama continues to enjoy the services of the young man who transferred in from Ohio State University. Welcome back, everybody. The segment of the Nick Saban Show is presented by Royal Furniture. Family owned and operated for 75 years, Royal Furniture has locations in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Memphis, and Jackson, Tennessee for your shopping convenience. Of course, Alabama is off next weekend. We will be here on Thursday night, though the coach will be joining us on the telephone. And, Coach, that means that we weren't going to be able to give you your birthday cake next Thursday, but we've moved it all up to this evening. So if you look to your right, here comes a birthday cake, as we do every year. And it's a beautiful, I was going to sing, but we're trying to retain our audience instead of chase them away. So
I think you have a lovely voice.
oh, thank you very much. But And you hear some folks in the background singing happy birthday. It's a beautiful football field with houndstooth around the edges, a football on top, and it says Roll Tide. And, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous cake, and I dare say it's as delicious as can be. I say this because we do this every year, but it's not everybody who gets cakes. I mean, people just genuinely care about you and Miss Terry, and it's something that you've earned.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but we have a lot of great relationships that we really appreciate what people do for us and how they've sort of supported some of the things that we've tried to do, whether it's in Nick's Kids or the university, the football program. I mean, there's so many people involved in the success that we have here and the relationships that we've developed that, I'd like to thank everybody for all that they've done for us. It's really been a lot of fun, and we want it to continue to be fun for, a lot longer.
Amen to that. And
Kate, since I'm only 39,
sure. I'll agree with that, and then you can thank me for not singing, and we're even. And Katie, jump in.
Are you able to take a day to celebrate on a bye week or no?
We always go to our lake house in Georgia at Lake Burton, and we're there for like a day and a half. But we have a lot of good friends there, and we always have a birthday party on Saturday night, and we have probably 12 couples, 24, 20 to 30 people probably. And it's a nice group of people, so we do take one day.
Grandkids get to make the list?
The grandkids basically, if they want anything, they already got it because Miss Terry already bought it for them.
It's a good grandma right there.
So
slightly spoiled, huh?
Yeah, a little bit, but that's a good thing. We're happy to be able to do that too, and I'm glad to see those kids do well, our grandkids, and be happy.
You guys have been blessed. You sure have. Back to the phones, if we can. Brian joining us in Santa Margarita, California. Hi, Brian. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hey,
Eli.
Brian.
And we met at the Cable Car Classic in Santa Clara many, many years ago.
Oh, yeah?
And I just want to say hello to you. And
yes.
I want to thank Coach for the tremendous job he's done for our school.
Well, thank you.
I guess I'll thank Mal Moore because he and I were friends from 1959. So thank you very much, Coach.
Yeah, well, Mal Moore, I think, is, the reason that we're here. First of all, Mal did a great job of convincing Miss Terry we should come to Alabama. And Mal had a great vision for even the difficult times before we got here when there was probation. He had a vision of redoing the facilities, and so that when we got off of probation, we'd be able to be successful. And he had a great vision. He was a great person. I never heard Mal Moore say a bad word about anybody. And he had just so supportive of. He used to come to see me every Sunday, and he used to tell me Coach Bryant stories. And I know I told the one, when we lost to Auburn, I don't know, it was 2010 when Cam Newton was playing, and Mark fumbled the ball. Everybody probably remembers the fumble that went. We were ahead like 24-7, and the ball went down the sidelines like unbelievable. And I was watching the film, and Mark carried the ball in the wrong arm sometimes. And I said to Mal, Mark carries the ball in the wrong arm, and I can't get him to quit. And he told me, he said, well, when I was coaching here for Coach Bryant, he had a great quarterback, and I forget his name right now, but there was a lot of great ones, and it's somebody that everybody would know, and Mal was the quarterback coach. And he told Coach Bryant, if I could get this guy to get his elbow up more or something when he passes, he would be a lot more accurate and a lot more effective. And, he said Coach Bryant had a cigarette in his mouth and looked at him, and he said, don't you dare mess with him.
Yeah.
So he was telling me that story. So,
a message in there, huh?
A message to don't mess with Mark Ingram.
I hear you. Yeah.
But there was a lot of those.
My grandfather actually played for Bear Bryant at Kentucky, not Alabama, but he was a DB
Really?
for him in 1950 during that time period. So.
Wow, great.
Yeah, nice tie-in. Coach, we've got a visitor over here to our left with a question for you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hey, Coach.
How you doing?
Happy early birthday. Doing
Thank
well.
you.
Met you
Appreciate
earlier. And thanks for having us in. Likey family from Michigan. The question is, would you prefer like an old school defensive game, 17-14, or do you prefer like a high scoring offense attack now? Which game do you like better?
Or
coaching?
a 2-0 game as long as you win.
That's right.
Well, I think I've never really thought of it that way. I will say this, that when you feel that you can't stop the other team, that's not a good feeling. So if you can play good defense, and it doesn't matter what the score of the game necessarily, whether it's high scoring or low scoring. And just like last week, I mean, they had 300 yards passing. I thought we played really good pass defense last week. The secondary played well. We got good rush on the quarterback. We sacked them 4 or 5 times. We affected them. But if you told somebody to give up 300 yards passing, they would say, that's not very good. But because we played well in the red zone and we got 3 turnovers and we got off the field some on third down, they only scored 9 points. So that's good defense. So, but whether we scored 49 points or 12 points, at least we knew that the other team wasn't going to score. You know, when you get in these games where you feel like you have to outscore the other team, you're always just one mistake away, one drop ball. Same happened at A&M. You know, we couldn't stop them late in the game. They scored twice. All right, now we got a chance to have the ball and go down and score and win the game. We dropped 1 ball on 2nd and 10. That would have been a first down, right in the guy's hands. And that was the difference in the game because we didn't make it on 3rd and 10, and they got the ball back and went down and kicked a field goal with no time left. So those kinds of games are difficult, but players have to be able to play situational football. I think that one thing you learn playing in the NFL is all the games are close. You know, in the NFL, like 75% of the games are decided by 7 points or less. All right, so you're always coming down to the last possession and playing situational football. That doesn't happen all the time in college. You know, there's not that many games that are decided by a really close margin. So your players have to really understand how to play situational football in close games. And that's something that our players sometimes do well and sometimes they don't do so well. And that's something that when you play in a lot of close games, you learn how to do that. And that's not something that, you know, we've been involved in quite a lot, but it's something that our players need to be able to do because you can win games in the end just because you think you're winning them, just because you think you're going to win them. I honestly believe that. And I think that I've told this story before, but I remember when I was defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns and we're playing on Monday Night Football against Dan Marino and the Miami Dolphins. And we played great all night on defense. Played great. All right, stopped them, did good. All right, we're ahead in the game, 17-14. They get the ball back with 1:21 to go in the game. And I got all our guys huddled up on the sidelines, and we were going to play 8-pack. We had this package of what we called 8-pack with 7 defensive backs, and we were going to play in 2 minutes and all that. Marino trots on the field, looks me right in the eye, and looks everybody on our defense right in the eye like I got this. And there's nothing you can do. I don't care what you do. That was the feeling. And our guys ran on the field. They went through us like through a tin horn, all right, and went right down the field and scored. And we lost the game. So he believed that in that situation in the game, they were going to be able to do that. You have to believe that you can stop them. You have to believe that you can score. You have to believe that you can play situational football in difficult times in the game.
And for those of you who are new, that's a technical football term, in case you were curious. Sir, thank you so much for your call or your question. We're coming right back. More with the coach after this on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Bryce claps his hands, gets the snap. Pressure off the edge. They throw. Robinson near side. Cuts to the middle of the field. See ya. Bye-bye. Brian Robinson Robinson, touchdown, Alabama, 51 yards. What a beautiful play. I'll tell you, the fifth-year senior from here in Tuscaloosa, Coach, he's really having himself a nice season, isn't he?
B-Rob's taken a long time. He's worked hard for a long time in his career, being his fifth year, and really taking advantage of it this year. He's got a great opportunity. He's played really, really well for us. He's been a real workhorse and running and as a receiver. So we're really pleased with the way he's played.
This segment of the Nick Saban Show sponsored by New Coke Zero Sugar. New look, improved taste. New Coke Zero Sugar. Coach, let's just wrap things up before we hear your final word. I assume you've looked at a lot of film of Central Florida when Heupel was there as the coach. Has his offense evolved from his days in Orlando to where he is here, or is it pretty much the same?
No, I think it's very similar. I think all coaches that are good offensive coaches, which I think Josh is really a good offensive coach, they evolve a little bit relative to the players that they have, so they utilize the players that they have on offense, and I think they've done that extremely well. They've run the ball really, really well. They've made a lot of explosive plays on offense. They do a really good job of executing their system and what they do, and he knows, like any coach who has been in the system for a while, how to tweak it and what to do in a game to make it work and make it effective for his players, and it shows all over the tape. So, and they're very well coached, and they haven't really changed dramatically. But I do think he's doing what his players can do the best.
Definitely so. Coach, it's time for your final word of the evening, presented each week by Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Well, I said earlier that I think it's really important that our team can sort of prove that this is their identity, this is their legacy of who they want to be, what they want to be, what they're willing to do to sort of do that. You really have to believe in something or someone to have any loyalty to anything. And I think that each player on the team has an opportunity to earn that from his teammates and by what he does, or lose it by what he does or doesn't do. So, and I think everybody's got to buy in. I thought that's one of the things that was really good about the last game is, everybody did buy in. This is homecoming. This is the Tennessee game. It is a rivalry game. I think we need to have an outstanding, enthusiastic, passionate crowd that's really going to enhance our opportunities to maintain our intensity in the game, so that we can play the way we need to play. Our fans have been great. It seems like it's been a long time since we played at home, having 2 straight away games, but this is a big one for us. I think it's a big one for our team. We put ourselves in a position where we have to respond from the edge of the cliff, and we need everybody to help us do that in a positive way. So we appreciate the great support that we'll have in this game.
By the way, my crack research team has just let me know that sentence you used before to talk about the defense's inability to stop a team, originally used by General George Patton when he addressed his men. So not only was it germane to what you were saying, it's a history lesson for all of us. Great leaders. Well, greatest of all time as a general, greatest of all time as a coach.
I can tell you this. I've read a few of his books, but that's not where that came from. It came from standing on the sidelines, feeling helpless because you couldn't stop the other team.
Coach, thanks so much. We'll see you this weekend, and as always, thanks for your time.
All right, thank you.
And
thank
Katie
you, Katie.
George, a pleasure to have you with us here. What do you do tomorrow in preparation for the telecast on Saturday?
Well, we'll have a meeting with this guy right here, as well as his coordinators. Then we'll also speak to the Tennessee staff. We'll have a production call as well. Just kind of going through storylines, things that we really want to make sure hit the broadcast, as I'm sure you do as well for your radio broadcast as well. So we'll just go through meeting after meeting after meeting, and then you kind of go through your different storylines and just prepare the best that you can.
Are all these meetings now in person? I know last year darn near everything was on Zoom. Are you guys in person now?
You know, we started the season the first couple weeks in person, which was so nice to be back in the meeting rooms with coaches, getting to see them
Sure.
face to face, because I feel like you get so much good information just from the conversations. But unfortunately, ESPN has moved us back to Zoom.
Have they?
So we have been on Zoom for about the last 5 weeks. So we will Zoom Coach Saban as well as his coordinators from afar, but still get just as good of information.
And whether you're working with Jason Benetti or if you're working with Joe Tessitore, the regular play-by-play guy, does your approach change? Is the way they use you on the air the same?
Yeah, it is, and we haven't worked with Jason Benetti, so far this season because we've been with Tess for the majority. But Jason's a seasoned pro, and he's
the voice
so
of
kind.
the Chicago White
know.
Sox.
He's so good at what he does, and he'll seamlessly fill in this role. And it's obviously great to have Greg McElroy on our crew because he's obviously played here. He knows this campus, this fan base inside and out, as well as his staff, and so it's just always great to have somebody like that on your crew who can get the ins and outs from the coaches.
Well, listen, great to have you here this evening. I appreciate you giving up some of your valuable off time to be with us, and all the best. We look forward to watching you. The majority of these folks will watch you guys, and we thank you again for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Katie George from ESPN.